supported by audio video materials, and along with that there is a discussion forum to interact with the teachers and your classmates and online assessment. And this is the standardized international standards for online education being incorporated in emergency online program. It has the following focus area: news writing, news editing for newspaper and magazines, online journalism and broadcast journalism, media ethics and development communication, communication research, digital media, and various other aspects of communication process. The entire learning content of this particular program generated by renowned Indian academics. You will learn the nuances of communication with Indian examples. This particular program is 2 years in duration and it has 16 courses. After the 16 courses, 12 are theory and 4 are practical projects. If you are a techno-savvy and if you are able to control various technical tools, wants to learn more about media and communication system, then this is a program meant for you. Welcome to this program.
Namaskar and a very warm welcome to all the viewers and learners who are watching us live in today's Gyan Darshan session. I am Dr. Geetika S. Johry, Faculty at School of Vocational Education and Training and Program Coordinator of the BA Vocational Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Program. Learners, our today's session is on copyright, and with me in the studio I have Professor Suneet from School of Law. I welcome you, Professor Suneet, in our today's session. So, learners, Professor Suneet has an expertise in IPR, and she has written units for our course on IPR, and at the same time she has also designed and developed courses for our School of Law. So again, I'm very delighted to have you in the studio, Professor Suneet. So to begin with today's session, let us begin with copyright, which is one of the units under our course IPR for MSMEs and Startups under the BAVMSME program. So let me ask Professor Suneet, what do you mean by copyright, or before even copyright, what is IPR? Because it is one of the parts of IPR.
Yes, Geetika, copyright is a form of intellectual property right. And before we move on to the main topic, which is copyright, I would like to explain you what is intellectual property right, especially for our students. Now, as we know, intellectual property right is a property which is a creation of a human brain or any one of us. Copyright is a form of intellectual property right. And intellectual property right, actually, when you divide it into two sects, one form is copyright and the other is industrial property. So today we will not talk about industrial property. We will be talking in this session on copyright. Now, as you said, copyright is a form of intellectual property. We have also some write-up on copyrights. Now, copyright, as it is an intellectual property, any writing or any novel or anything which you have written, if you want to protect it, you have to take a copyright protection under the copyright law. And we have a Copyright Act, the Indian Copyright Act 1957, which has been amended so many times, and latest in 2012. So under this act, you can take protection if you have written something. So for that, very importantly, you should know what is the subject matter of copyright. For our students who want to know, because as I told you that copyright is a form of intellectual property right, what is the subject matter of copyright? It is importantly to know that any literary work, any artistic work, or any scientific or artistic domain, whatever the mode or form of expression, is a form of copyright. You can take a copyright protection on that. So the subject matter of copyright protection includes every production in the literary, scientific, and artistic domain, whatever the mode of form of expression. Let's take it a little elaborately. When we talk about literary works, these includes novels, short stories, poems, writings, irrespective of any content. It may be a fiction or a non-fiction, whatever be its length. You can write a 2-page write-up, and if you want to take protection on that, you can take a copyright protection on that too. Even a comedy show or a write-up on comedy can be taken protection on. Advertisements, if you think that your advertisement has something new or it is of a different kind, you can take copyright protection on that. Any type of propaganda also. Any handwritten, typed, printed, book, pamphlet, single sheets, newspaper, magazines, anything, you can take a copyright protection on those things, whether it is a published or unpublished. Now, in most countries, oral works, that is works which are not reduced to writing, such as lectures, addresses, and sermons, they are also protected by the copyright laws. Even when the judicial magistrates, they give, when decisions are made by the judicial magistrates, even they can take copyright protection on those things. So how important is the literary work? It is not important that your writing is very good or bad, but if it is a literary work and you think that your writing has some value, then definitely you can take a copyright protection on that. So now coming to musical works, whether it is a serious or light song, choruses, operas, musicals, operettas, if for instruction, whether for one instrument, whether it is a solo instrument or if it is for a few instruments, sonatas, chamber, music, etc., or many brands, orchestras. So any type of musical works, they come under the purview of copyright protection. If you have created something and you want to take copyright protection on that, any type of musical work, you can take a copyright protection on that. Another subject matter of it is artistic works. Whether it is the 2-dimensional drawings, paintings, etchings, lithographs, or 3-dimensional sculptures, architectural work, irrespective of the content, representational or abstract, and destination, pure art for advertisement, etc. Why I am telling all these things is that whether it is a solo thing, whether it is oral or whether it is in a written form, even if you have said something, even if you have given you have talked about something, you have given a lecture and you want a copyright protection on that, you can also take copyright protection on your lecture. So even people who have spoken or given a speech, if they feel that their speech has something new in it or something different, they can go for a copyright protection on that. Now coming to motion pictures. Now only cinematographic works, whether silent or with a soundtrack, and irrespective of the purpose, theatrical exhibition, television, broadcasting, etc., the genre, film, dramas, documentaries, newsreels, etc., irrespective of the length, the method which they have employed, whether it is a filming, live, cartoons, etc., or any technical processes used, which has been used, like pictures on transparent film, videotapes, DVDs, etc., they all can come under the protection of copyright. Dramatic includes choreographic or a computer program. Dramatic works such as plays, choreographic works such as ballet, be it classical or modern, and entertainments in dumb show. Even if the dumb show, you're not speaking anything, but you're doing a dumb show. If you want to have a copyright protection on it, you can take a copyright protection on it. Computer programs include artistic, jewelry, lamps, wallpaper, furniture, etc. That is applied art. Some regard phonograph records, tapes, and broadcast also as works, but the latter are generally protected under the category or related. Now, these are the things, these are the subject matter of copyright protection, which I have talked about.
So that means whatever you are also speaking, that is also a kind of a copyright. You
Yes.
can claim a copyright for whatever you're speaking, whatever you are showing on the live to our learners. That is also copyright.
Yes.
Because it is all done by you.
Yes.
So you can claim a copyright for it. Now,
Yes, Dr. Geetika, I would like to tell here that the PPT which I have prepared is also a work of copyright protection. If I don't want to give it to anyone, see, there are certain things which if you don't disseminate to, like any writing, if you don't disseminate, you do not know the value of it. So definitely dissemination is very important. Some people don't like to show their work because they think that it will be stolen. Why we talk about copyright protection? The reason is that because we think that our work will be stolen and taken by someone. That is the reason that the law is, we have the law, the Copyright Act. So if you have written something, if you have designed something, if you have a music and you want to, but of course, without dissemination, you would not know the value of it. So dissemination is important. And then we have the Copyright Act, which protects it. Because if you want to take a protection, then you have to certainly go there. Another very important aspect which I would like to tell here is that oral works or certain works which you don't, because you always don't want to run to the copyright, where you want to take a copyright protection, registration is not that important. So if you don't want to go and take a copyright protection, you can always use the word that I don't license it to anyone else. Okay. If you use a certain C out there, or if you always have a proof of that you have written that work, then you can, without the registration also, you will get the protection of copyright.
Very interesting. Now, Professor Suneet, I would like to know more about it, that what are the works which are protected under the copyright law?
The works which I've, as I told you, the literary work, the artistic work, the musical work, the choreography, these are the subject matter of copyright protection. But there are certain conditions for protection under the copyright law. And those conditions are that the work has to be original. Now, when we talk about original, what is the meaning of originality? There is no set definition of originality. For example, if I have written something, so I would not like to anyone else to use it, but then if somebody has made a play on that work, or if somebody wants to make a play on that, can of course take the can take the approval from me and make a play, adapt it to a play. So if the person has adapted it to a play and makes a little bit of changes in it, then where is the originality of that person? When we are talking about the originality. The originality here, the originality is not no more. So for originality, for the term to be original, for the work to be original, there should be some skill which that person has developed. Some skill. If he is able to prove that skill that he has used in developing that work, then definitely the work will be considered to be original. So the work has to, when I say the work has to be original, it means that some skill or some justice has been done to that work, where he has shown that skill is actually his, and that is how that work is considered to be original. The other very important condition for protection under the copyright law is that it should be, the protection extends to expression and not to ideas. Because what we believe is that many people can have the same idea, but when the idea is culminated into an expression, when it becomes an expression, then definitely the work is of he or she. When we are talking about the mythological plays like Ramayana and Mahabharata, it was written by, Ved Vyas. But Ramayana has been played in so many forms by different, producers also, it has been written also in different forms by different writers. So definitely that work is original, which they have written, because it is their work. But the actual work was written, Ramayana was written by Ved Vyas. So
the idea was the same, but you're saying the expressions.
The expressions were different. It was been expressed by different people as differently. That is why we can say that the originality of that person lies in their writing. And that is why it can be given a protection under the copyright law.
Great. So that means like what they thought about it, what was their thinking process when they were actually wanting to write about Ramayana or Mahabharata. That means that cannot be called as copyright. Or it can be called.
No,
after what Ved
Vyas. I meant, see, we know that the mythological play Ramayana was written by Ved Vyas.
Yeah.
But if I want to make a film on that, because we already know the writer is Ved Vyas, so even if you write it, it cannot be yours. The idea is of the person itself, but you can express it in different
ways.
So if you express it in different forms, then your expression, your way of expression is your originality lies in your way of
So
expression.
every person has a different way of expressing, a different
Yes.
way of thinking, a different way of producing it in whatever form they want.
But thoughts cannot be protected because I'm thinking anything, but the person who has actually culminated it, made it into an expression, has expressed it, will get a copyright for that.
Great. Anything else you want to elaborate on the
Yeah,
copyright
I
law?
would elaborate on the protection which extends to expression only and not to ideas. I would elaborate on this only. Two people they are having that they want to take a photograph of a sunset. So the person who A, if has taken a photograph and B copies A, then definitely he will be doing an infringement of copyright and he can be sued for it. But if the person has taken a photograph of the sunset on his own way, in his own way, he may have not. It may be the same, but he has not copied it, and he has a proof of that he has not copied it. Then you can say that then he can take a copyright protection of that, and there he will be considered. It will be considered that it is his original work.
Okay,
so very importantly, that your work should be original, and when you say original, then you have to prove that you have some skill you have showed in it. Your work you have showed some skill in it, and it is different because derivative works are just a work, or they are just derived from the original work, but they also have the originality in it, and they are given protection for that. For example, the Mickey Mouse show. You have seen that the Walt Disney has actually created the Mickey Mouse, but dolls which are made of Mickey Mouse, they were not the creation of Walt Disney, but they have also been given copyright for that. So the people who had actually created they have included their skills in it, and that is why their work is original, and they have been given copyright protection for it, and nobody can sue them at the same time of copyright infringement, though it is a derivative work of the original work.
Okay.
Now,
yeah.
As I told you, for a work to enjoy copyright protection, it must be the original. He or she must be the original creator, and the concept of originality requires some clarification, which I have already clarified, and I've also talked about. I've given you illustrations about how originality, how we deal with originality, and how expressions should be protected. So, in the same this, I would also like to explain that people now they're going for protection of this own speeches. The form of speeches. Sometimes, you have a different way of producing a certain film, or a different way of expressing your own, starting your own, giving a lecture or something. So you don't want anybody else to copy that. So during that time, what you do, since you don't want anyone to copy, you can take a copyright protection of your expression. That I don't want that this mic, the way I speak, the way I perform the things in the studio, somebody else should copy me. So that is why, nowadays the Bollywood movies or actors also, they don't want that people should copy their work, because they think that their work is original, and if somebody copies it, definitely, that's why remixes,
remixing.
The things which are remixed, or the things which are they are not the original things, they always been questioned, and there is a chance of copyright infringement in that.
Now, I want to know, Professor Suneet, that along with copyright, we're always talking about, related rights.
Right.
What are those related rights with copyright?
See,
something like some terminology like this.
Yes, copyrights. Whenever we talk about that, copyrights are always related with some rights, because copyright, if you have created something and you have disseminated it, people, from different parts of the country, they would like to know it in their own language. So with copyrights are related two rights, essentially two rights. One is the economic right and the moral right. And when we talk about related rights, we will be talking more about economic rights.
Okay.
Because when you've written something, you want a reward for it. So that is why it is known as economic rights. And with economic rights, though we get financial reward, we also allow the other person to use our work. I'll give you an example that if you being a teacher, if you have written a book, definitely you would want loyalty for it.
Yeah.
And the loyalty which you will be getting at one point at only one time is not sufficient for your work, isn't it? So you want that work to be exploited used by different people, isn't it? So if you want your students to have that work, and most of the time, if you are not very economically sound, you would give it to a publisher. When the publisher gives you a royalty, it will be a one-time thing. But if you allow that publisher to publish it
again and
again, or you give him the translation right, you give him the reproduction right, and you say that I want a part of it, a part of the money which you will be producing for that, which you will be raising from that book. So definitely you will be economically sound, you will be getting an economic reward of it, and at the same time it will reach to many. So this is how economic right works. And when I'm talking about rights, it's not only translation rights, but it includes reproduction rights, it includes adaptation rights, it includes broadcasting rights and performing rights. So many rights are related with economic rights. So we'll be talking about the different rights. First, I'll also like to highlight on what are moral rights. Because when we talk about copyrights, there are essentially two rights. One is the economic right and the other is the moral right. So economic rights, we understood that it is something which is related with economic reward to the writer who's actually written and who has created. And moral right is one which highlights the personal link which is existing between the author and the work. So when we talk about personal link, definitely if a person has written, he should be acknowledged. So if we are writing units for your work, for your program, so you acknowledge us that she is the writer, and this is a moral right. We should be acknowledged. Anyone who has written should be acknowledged, should be given that credit. The second very important,
but here in the moral rights, the economic benefit is not there. The financial benefit is
you may get, or you may or may not.
Okay.
But it is a moral right that if you have written something,
ethically
you should be
it should be done.
Yeah, ethically, it is the ethical thing, the moral right. And at the same time, it is at the right. The writer should have this right. The creator should have the right that he should allow the person to use his work without any mutilation, without any changes to his original work. If he does not want his work to be mutilated or distorted or changed in any form, he has every right to say to the person whom he is giving to use it that kindly, please do not, you can use the work as much as you want, but you should not distort it, or you should not make changes in it because I don't want changes in it. So this is his moral right. This is the link of the...
So that way he needs to adopt it as it is.
Yeah, you may give it, or you may say that yes, if you give to a person, if you've given license to the person that you can use it in any form, then definitely that person can use. But if you say that it should not be mutilated, it should be used in the form in the way I want it to be, I have written it, then definitely he or she should be respected. So this is very important for the moral rights, because anyone who has created something has got that, has that feeling that my work should be adopted or adopted or adapted or translated in the original form. Though there may be changes made, but then that should be in the knowledge of the author who has actually created it. Now coming to the economic rights, as I told you that economic rights are related with other rights. The first and very important is the right of reproduction and the associated rights with it. Now the right of the owner of the copyright to prevent others from making copies of his work. As you know that whenever we have written something, if it is a book, a textbook, and it is a university textbook, or it is for the students, then students normally what they do go and copy, they do go for photocopies and all. Now the High Court has given this right that yes, you can go for a photocopy because it is because students do not have that much money, and because it's looking into their economic conditions also. Yeah. But frankly speaking, we should always think about the author, the one who has written this book. He has written this book with such, he has used his time, he has used his patience, his money and everything, and definitely wants some reward for that. So apart from that, if you want that copies to be given to others, people, it's sin if you are photocopying and reading it, or you are pirating the things and not giving the advantage actually to that person. He is not getting that economic reward what he should be given. So we can say that ethically also it is not correct, and also the rights of reproduction, it is always in the hands of the person. If you want to publish it, you should go for you should be given this right. And if he thinks that there is an infringement, or somebody is using his work and without his knowledge, then definitely it is against the law of copyright. So I would say that the right of reproduction and all the associated rights is actually the right. This is a bundle of rights, which is the right of the person who's actually created the work. Now coming to the translation and adaptation rights. Now, as I told you that when we create something, dissemination is very important. If we do not disseminate it, if we do not circulate it people will not know about your work. So whether it's a good work or a bad work, it is a work. As I told you, any type of literary work is a work of is actually can get copyright protection. So if I give it if I give my work for translation and for adaptation, it is again a right which the author has the right to give. The acts of translating or adapting of work protected by a copyright require the authorization of the copyright owner. So the copyright owner means the person who's actually created it can give it for translation and well as adaptation. So this is a right which is again an economic right.
So that means even if it is going for translation, his name will be given the same way as it is given if it's written in English. For example, now as per NEP 2020, we are talking about that, we have to provide materials or, disseminate information in local languages.
Right.
So if there is a textbook in English and if it is translated in Hindi or Sanskrit, then what kind of, do they get some kind of recognition for that or...
See, the actual work will always be of the author.
That is
only.
the actual work.
That is the moral right.
They're only translating.
It is only the translation rights which you are giving to the other person.
Okay.
So again, see, I'll give you an example. If somebody has written metaphysical poetries, Chayavad Kavita, so if that person is only collecting those metaphysical poetries and making a transcript of that, that is what? That is, he's just
just
compiling that is the work
basically.
Of a compilation. So you will be given the credit for compilation, not for the works, because the author will always be the author, one who has actually created. So here also you are giving the translation rights to someone.
Okay.
The person who is translating it will be only given that credit that he has translated the actual work from English to Hindi or from English to any other language, any other vocational language. And for adapting also, like if I have written a story and I want somebody wants to adapt it into a film, adaptation means just from one form to another form, from a written form to a play form. You can make
certain changes.
You make a play or you make a. But if you want to make some changes, then of course you have to ask the writer, the author, because you have seen so many controversies in the Bollywood movies and all, and even in the plays, that people have converted it without the knowledge of the author. So this is a sin, as I told you. It is, of course, when I tell sin, it is an ethical, something immoral. So definitely it should be with the knowledge of the author. The author is the sole person. He has got the economic rights as well as the moral rights. It lies in him. Now coming to another very important is performing rights. Now when we talk about performing rights, it is when you have written a song or when a song has been sung by someone. So people have to nowadays, they have to take performing rights also. Because yes, of course, because the person who's actually sung, you have to, you cannot, imitate that song in somewhere else. And especially for commercial purposes. If it is a closed, gathering, if it's a closed gathering, you can sing there, you're not getting any commercial benefit out of it. But if it is not a commercial benefit, if it is for the commercial benefit, then definitely you have to take the performing rights from the person. Because again, you're getting a commercial benefit out of that. So definitely a license has to be given from the one who has sung, from the producers, from a group of people, who have actually produced that song. So that is very important. And talking about the performing rights, and then coming to broadcasting rights. If you're broadcasting any material, because when you talk about broadcasting, when it goes through television, when it goes through the signals to other places, so it becomes a matter of great, concern if it is something which somebody has written for a close gathering or for his students only. Now it is broadcasted. It is known to a lot of people. So this is something which you have to think about. You have to take the permission of the author. If he has written a story or something, or if he's an illustration and the news person wants to broadcast it, he has to take authorization from the person who's actually written. Because when it gets broadcasted, it is now between among a lot of people. So we should understand that how sacred it is. So if it is for a close gathering, it should be for a close gathering. And when it comes to broadcasting, unless and until it is very important, then you get some privileges for broadcasting. Otherwise, you should always take the permission from the author. Now I talked about broadcasting rights. Now economic rights, we know what are those. Once again, we can just go through what are the economic rights, like rights of reproduction and other associated rights, translation, adaptation rights, performing rights, and broadcasting rights. Moral rights, we've already talked about that. Moral rights are those rights which, it is a person who's actually written it has a great concern about his own work, so he doesn't want it to be mutilated or distorted, or without his permission you cannot do that. Now, one important thing is the term of the copyright. The duration of copyright in India is for anything literary, musical or artistic work is 60 years from the year in which the author dies. The life of a person and plus 60 years.
Okay.
So after that person dies, till 60 years, his heirs, legal heirs, they can protect that work.
Okay.
And then coming to plagiarism, which is a very important for students especially. Plagiarism, as we understand, is again an unethical work. If you are just paraphrasing, the idea remains the same, but you're just paraphrasing. Taking a thing from there and here, and then producing it again in the same form. So the form remains the same, but what you're doing is that you're only paraphrasing it here, there, by cosmetic changes, That is known as plagiarism. So we should avoid for that also. That is an ethical wrong. So anybody can, go for the law. We have the law for that, for plagiarism. Again, your work can be used for fair use, like for teaching, for research, for criticism, for commentary, or for news reporting. Okay. So if you're doing for teaching, then you can use the work because it's a close gathering. Again, for research also, it is for a better, by taking permission, of course, but for criticism, for commentary, or for news reporting. So these are the things where you can use it for. If you're using for a fair use, then you can use the work.
So that's great. I think so. We have, covered quite a lot of aspects on copyright, and I'm sure Professor Suneet, our learners must have really benefited in today's session, because even from the students' perspective and otherwise also, we have discussed many things about what is copyright, and because it is one of the units of our course on IPR for MSMEs and startups, I think so. Our students of BA, BAMSME will really be benefited by this. I think so. We will be calling to you for more sessions where we will be discussing about patents, trademarks, industrial designs, geographical indications, which again are a very important part of IPR. Thank you once again, Professor Suneet, for your time and for explaining our students and discussing it in such length and breadth that what copyright is all about. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, learners.